you know the ghost story addiction has gotten seriously real. I am basically fresh out of the shower, sitting in my basement, ready to tell a ghost story. I didn't even put my makeup on for this, so here goes. I just got the, I know, I just need something to do with my hands while I talk because I'm not good at just throwing my hands around the whole time. Okay, so tonight's story is kind of quick. It's like your classic scary road story, and let's dive in. Here we go. Take one at this. Okay, so here we go. This story comes from my grandpa, husband of my grandma, who most of my stories come from. And my grandpa had a few stories. He didn't tell big, lengthy ones. He would basically just leave you with these like little short baby ghost stories that were just enough to be like, huh, that's scary. But this is one of them. So he used to tell this story about a road, general area, as a lot of my grandma's stories were when she was growing up. So this area between Tennessee and Kentucky on the eastern side. And basically just this curvy kind of mountain road. And I don't even need the AirPod today. I'm just using my hands. Look at me. Anyway, he would say that basically on dark nights when it was raining, there was basically this legend, and I've used the perfect picture for this, that when you would come around a certain part of the curve, like a curve in the road, there would be a man dressed in a long, like trench coat, all black with a hat on, kind of pulled down over his face, very eerily similar to the horseback rider story, which was from my grandma, in the same area. Pretty similar description of the ghost guy. Anyway, long black coat, hat pulled down, probably gonna have to do a part 2 for this, but he would only be visible when it would rain. So never on just a dark night or a regular night, but a dark night if it was raining or thunderstorming outside. And apparently this legend or this story was so real that when he and my grandma would drive past this part of the road, my grandma would cover her eyes. She'd be too afraid to look. And my grandpa claims to have seen him, and that a lot of people have seen him. And you're not supposed to make eye contact with him or anything like that. You're just supposed to drive on by and ignore him. So my grandpa always described the road as something like this, and I'm going to go ahead and get ready for part 2, but just take in this picture for a second, because this picture is just literally how this story looks in my mind. Okay, part 2. Be right back. Okay, here we go, part 2. And I'm basically trying to do a ghost story a day. So, 1 today. Yesterday I got 2, I think. But anyway, here we go, back to the story. So my grandpa would describe the road like this: a curvy mountain road, foggy, rainy. We even got some car headlights back there to really give it that kick. So basically you would round the corner or the curve of this road, and then your headlights would hit this man. All black, hat pulled down over his head, just kind of standing on the side of the road, only visible on dark nights when it's raining or storming. Now I will go back and relate this to my grandma's story about the horseback rider, which was from a different era because she was a kid at that time, but still very similar. Basically the same stretch of road. I think the road that my grandma was describing would have, it's not this road obviously, but I'm pointing at it. I think the road that my grandma actually described them walking on later turned into this highway that my grandpa was talking about. So could the mysterious horseback rider have then turned into the man in black standing on the side of the road? I mean, it's 2 different people, 2 different stories, same exact ghost description, except there were no horses. So, like I said, my grandpa claims to have seen him, and he says that basically this guy was a local legend that everybody knew if you went around the road on this part of night in the rain, or if you went around the road at night, like that part of the road at night in the rain, you were going to see this guy. But don't make eye contact with him. Just keep driving. This is seriously one of my favorite stories just because it was so believable, but also so classic. Like, I feel like the ghost on the side of the road story, we've all got one. They're all, they're everywhere, but they're all different and just as terrifying. Like, this kind of feels like a supernatural episode. I believe it though. My grandpa was a man of few words. Very kind of stern guy. I don't think he would make up stories just for fun. And he grew up his whole life, like he grew up in this area of East Tennessee, so he knew a lot of local legends and stories and things like that. And his were always, like I said, just short, but super terrifying. And I've got about 3 or 4 more that I'll cover later on, but this one's my favorite one. Like when I think about it, even though it's a creepy ghost story, it brings a smile to my face because I can see my grandpa's sweet face while even though he was a stern man, he had this very sweet face and these really pretty like blue-gray eyes, and I can just see him in my mind when I'm telling this story. And a lot of my stories are meant for that reason, is to keep the memory of my grandparents alive and their stories being passed down and shared with other people. So that's today's story, The Man on the Side of the Road.